the state legislature has wrapped up spring session without acting to consolidate mass transits in the greater Chicagoland area to include a $1.50 tax per retail delivery. That did not pass, and that means that you've got all kinds of political forces that are going to be taken to the streets to try to get people to act on getting some funds, some tax dollars to bail out regional transit. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Yesterday, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson held a news conference where he was asked about the CTA and the transit cliff, $750 million of a cliff, financial cliff that's going to lead to cuts to services, according to the various regional transit organizations. A measure did come up in the Illinois Senate before midnight deadline last Saturday that would have consolidated all of these various transit agencies and funded a fiscal cliff with a $1.50 tax per retail delivery like Amazon or like Grubhub. But it also would have had a tax on electric vehicle charging companies. So that tax likely would have been handed down to the consumer as they go and plug in their electric vehicle. So again, you have people who don't even leave their house getting groceries and stuff delivered, paying for mass transit in that proposal. You have people who are driving electric vehicles paying for mass transit. And we heard some of the debates of people upset and they didn't like the idea of subsidizing things that they don't use. So, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, obviously, his city's impacted by mass transit, and he was holding a news conference yesterday and asked about the possible shutdown here of the Chicago Transit Authority in particular.
We'll start here and we'll snake around.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
I want to ask you about the failure of the transit bill this weekend in Springfield. Are you concerned that this could lead to widespread shutdowns of the CTA's bus and rail lines? And are you concerned about what this will mean to Chicagoans who rely on the CTA to get to work and school?
Well, as you know, this has been, an effort that has been going on for some time. And our position in Chicago, the position that I've stated, is very clear. With ridership continuing to go up, 300 million riders just last year alone between our buses and trains. To your question, there is absolute need for reliable, affordable, expansive services through our public transportation system here.
And if ridership's going up, well, some people are advocating just increase rates. Just increase the amount it costs for somebody who's using mass transit to get onto mass transit. I mean, everything else has gone up in price. We're going to see higher energy costs. I just got a note from my village that my water costs are going up about X amount of percent, which includes not just the drinking water, but the sewer side. All that's going up. We're expecting energy prices downstate to go up. What about fares for those using the mass transit? Should that just go up to make up for the fiscal cliff instead of asking for somebody who doesn't even use mass transit in downstate Illinois getting a pizza delivered to pay for mass transit in northern Illinois? Now, advocates for the transit consolidation effort and the tax, they said, hey, all that tax money is not going to go just to Chicago. It's going to be used also for downstate transportation, mass transit, but we'll see how that actually does work out. Is there a dire warning here? More from the mayor yesterday during his news conference.
Good morning, Mayor. Happy June.
Good morning. Yeah.
What urgency would you like to send to CTA riders and lawmakers alike about the transit cliff? Like, do you want to reassure people the sky isn't falling just yet, or turn up the heat and say, people need to take this more seriously?
Look, first of all, let me just say that there are a number of legislators that we've been in conversations with for several months.
And they've been talking for a year and a half about this. He continues on to say there needs to be, quote, shared sacrifice.
As far as the timing is concerned, or the power or the structure, there has to be a shared sacrifice and accountability for our public transit system. That's what the focus has been, and that's what the focus will remain. Thank you.
And then on the revenue side, that's kind of how this fell apart, is there was disagreements over the revenue. Do you think now in the coming months, do you need to take a greater role in that and kind of advocating for specific revenue? And if you do,
I don't think it's a good question. I don't think anybody will speculate over my belief of where the revenue should come from, right? And I know that there are some hardworking members of the General Assembly, Representative Delgado, Senator Villavelam. I mean, these are some people who have been active and on the front line of this issue, and I appreciate their leadership. It's going to take all of us to come together to come up with a revenue package that protects a public accommodation. Where, quite frankly, it's not just a conversation about workers, right? It's also about civil rights, particularly in areas of this state where access to public transit is not as available. That's why the red line extension is so paramount, but there's other systems of public transportation that have to reach more areas, particularly as more and more development and business come to Chicago. Yesterday we made an agreement with some suburban communities for them to be able to access water from Lake Michigan. There's going to continue to become a stronger reliance upon the city of Chicago for the overall the success of the region. People know that, and that's why we're working hard to ensure that there's a collective, collaborative approach, so that not only will we, ask people to share in the sacrifice in terms of how we fund these systems, but that we also demonstrate a commitment to the rest of the region, that the city of Chicago is open for business, not for sale, but we see ourselves as a global partner, not just here locally, but again, around the world.
Again, you got people in downstate Illinois that are possibly going to be impacted by this delivery fee, this retail delivery fee, that would never even dream of using mass transit up in the Chicagoland area. So is that considered shared sacrifice, or would shared sacrifice be asking those who use CTA to pay more for it, like a use tax? There have been even other proposals, like there was a proposal to have a tax on like Uber or rideshare services to help pay for it. There was also a proposal at one point floated to have a surcharge on the tollway to help pay for it. And again, people are pushing back on that idea, saying that just doesn't make sense to require people who don't use mass transit to subsidize mass transit. We're already subsidizing mass transit in the state of Illinois and elsewhere. And ridership might be up, but is it where it should be? So these are important questions, but ultimately it's all about your tax dollars and how those tax dollars are going to be used. And we've heard from Brandon Johnson, the Chicago mayor, time and again about, quote, progressive revenue and how to get what they call wealthy to pay their fair share. Here's a last little bit from Brandon Johnson yesterday.
The ultra-rich continue to get away with not having to put more skin in the game. So we do have to have substantive conversations around revenue streams that challenges the rich in this state to step up in a way that does not continue to place the burden on working people.
And instead of doing something like that, the legislature, before they adjourned it was Sunday morning. Get my weekend mixed up here. Before they adjourned Sunday morning, they didn't, do any kind of big major tax on the rich. No, they decided to tax tobacco at 45%. They decided to change corporate taxes so they can capture more dollars. They decided to tax sports betting more. So those are just some of the tax changes that are going to be coming July 1st. Oh yeah, don't forget, the gas tax is going to go up again July 1st as well. So a lot of tax increases coming. Is that progressive revenue that the mayor talks about? Or is that broad-based tax increases that the governor said he'd veto? Or how are we going to pay for a $55 billion budget while Chicago is looking for more money for mass transit, things that are probably going to have to be dealt with this summer. Hence the reason why legislative leaders said, as the world warrants, we'll be back. So we'll be there to cover it here with Illinois in Focus. I'm Greg Bishop. Get the podcast where you get podcasts. Find the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily.